Good morning and welcome. My name is Bård Farstad, and I'm going to speak today about something that we call a web-first strategy, which is focusing on how organizations, both media but also other type of organizations, can use a strategy for multi-channel web content management to excel not only on the web, but primarily having web as the main channel for content production. Just before we start, I would like to mention just a few of the typical customers that we work together with. I'll get back to some examples a bit later. In general, we are delivering web content management software for organizations. In total, we are probably serving any type of vertical, but our main focus is on the media vertical. This is, let's say, our Formula One championship, because if you look at the media industry and if you look at the web and the challenges they have, they have the hardest demands in terms of flexibility of content, the number of channels. I mean, you have, of course, web, you have print, you have mobile TV. They have the shortest time frames. If something needs to be done, it needs to be done yesterday. And they have the smallest budgets. So that makes that a very attractive vertical to tackle. But we think that that's a very healthy vertical in terms of pushing the software platform forward. And we work with some of the largest players. From on the magazine side, you have like Lagardère, Grüner und Jahr, Condé Nast, with brands like Elle Magazine, Vogue, Cosmopolitan, yeah, Car and Driver, so the high-profile brands. On the newspaper side, we work with groups like the Dow Jones, the Wall Street Journal, and the Financial Times, which I'll mention a bit later, and also other players. But we also have a lot of customers in other verticals, and actually finance is the second biggest vertical for us. And it might sound like a very big difference when you look at, okay, what's the challenges for the media industry and what's the challenges for the finance industry. But when you look at the content strategy and the communication and marketing that the finance vertical has to do, it's very similar to the challenges you find in the media vertical. And in fact, we find that we can use the same type of tools in the finance industry as we use to solve the issues with the media industry. Sometimes we have to call it a bit different, but the technology is the same. So I'll get back a bit to that. And of course, there's other customers as well that we work with that have are also facing the same challenges. In general, if you look at the service industry, which are basically selling virtual products. It's not like a car that it's shipped, or if it's a physical product, it's perhaps a trip to Mai, for example. You have to communicate this with pictures and text and emotions. And the same is if you're, let's say, selling insurance. They have to build the same, they have to build an image, and this is all done through communication, which is in essence the same as when you're selling, I don't know, a magazine. The stories there are sold in the same way. So I'll get a bit back to that and some practical examples. Easy, that's the company that I represent. We are originally a Norwegian company. We're still headquartered in Norway. We do have offices in Scandinavia, in Oslo, in Stockholm, and Copenhagen. And also in Germany and France. In addition, we do have offices in the US, in Chicago, and also in Asia, where we have our office in Tokyo. So we are a global software vendor. We do not work with, let's say, implementations and integrations ourselves. We work with a global network of partners, where NXC is one of our best and biggest partners globally. And we work in teams where we basically deliver the software and deliver the support and maintenance for the software. And our partners are doing the integrations for the specific projects. When we talk about multi-channel content management, it may be mentioned earlier today. I saw some diagrams, but I was not able to understand exactly what was said. But our focus is on being able to handle any type of content on any type of device, and then being created or consumed by any user. Which means that I, as a content producer or as a consumer, should be able to produce the content on my iPhone, my BlackBerry, my iPad, or even a computer, and then having this being channeled out to where you want to be present. And there's all sorts of interesting challenges here in terms of the different channels that needs to be tackled. And also when you, which I believe is going to be covered a bit later, when you are present on multiple channels, one thing is to be present, but you also need to measure the success. What if you do a campaign, or you launch a new brand, or what is the effect? What's the impact in terms of ultimately revenue? But more precisely, you have some call for actions that are measured and that sort of thing, which I think will be covered in terms of analytics and measurement a bit later today, I hope. The other aspect is to be able to process any type of content. And this is very central to, if you talk about the web-first strategy, because if you take a newspaper, for example, there you have different types of content. You both have the unstructured content types, like images, you have videos, documents, white papers, and that sort of thing. But you also have a lot of structured content. Of course, you have the typical article or news press release type of content, but also quite often more specific content, which might be, I don't know, a car database. If it's a financial newspaper, they might have a wine guide, so you have a database of wines, as we have examples of, recipes for cooking databases and that sort of thing. So you need to be able to handle not only a predefined set of content, but also to be able to define your own types of content and have this managed in a unified way, so that you can push this to all the channels that are interesting, but also to be able to consume it both editorially and from a user perspective on the relevant channels. I'm going to talk a bit about some examples, and this is, I would say, the last 2-3 years we have seen a trend, and I think this was mostly pushed from the media vertical, but we see this heavily also in other verticals, that web first is becoming a big trend in terms of how a media group organizes themselves, both in terms of internal content production workflow and also how they utilize the tools. And this means that the web content management system has become a very strategic tool in terms of being the heart of the technology in these types of organizations. One example is the Financial Times, which came to us with a few challenges, because they have a lot of brands. This is one example. This is the last one that they launched on our platform. They are still making most of their money on print for the magazines. They know that they have to be present on a variety of different channels, and they have to be able to monetize on the different channels with the different methods that are available. So their main challenge and vision was that we want to produce the content device neutral, so we need to be able to create the stories in a web-first strategy. But still, this needs to be integrated into our print workflow. They use InDesign to lay out and ultimately generate PDFs for print for their magazines. But in terms of print, this is a very rigid format. I mean, you have a paper, it's fixed in terms of how it works. So that is not the main channel. And this is one of the, I think, the biggest mental shifts for, if you look at the media industry, and especially then, meaning newspaper and magazine. Traditionally, print has been king for, I don't know, a lot of years, since they invented paper. And web has been seen as just another nice to have channel, an additional experiment or something that they really haven't taken very seriously, because they were not able to monetize enough early on that platform. I mean, the ad revenue for Financial Times brand will not even be close to what they did make in the or still do make on the print brands. So they both realized that we have to produce our content neutral in terms of any channels. They wanted to be able to access the content management from anywhere, so the internet was important, and they needed to be able to feed both the traditional print channels and the new channels like mobile, and at the same time be able to monetize. And specifically what that means for the Financial Times is that they're able to charge for content, so that they have a premium access model where I, as a subscriber of the Financial Times, and in this case the scheme expert part, if I want to read the stories, I have to pay for a subscription, and basically the infrastructure needs to be able to handle the differentiation of public available content that they do need in terms of Google visibility and marketing. But then the real content, or 80% of the content, is only available if you have a valid subscription. So they have a monetization model where I, as a consumer, have to pay for the content. The content is produced in the web CMS as the main channel, and then pushed through the other available channels that they